Hi, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Craft on Tap Growth Marketing for RIAs. I'm your host, Stephen Beach, and my co host is Faustin Weber. Today, we're going to talk about copywriting. We're going to talk about how we can be a good partner for you when we're not financial advisors ourselves. How can we, write compelling, concise copy on some of these more complex technical topics? When we are not CFPs, we don't have the KIA designations. We don't come from the space as you do. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. This is a really common topic of conversation that we've discussed with clients. Also, I'll say, we've been in business since 2012-ish, 2013, when we finally got an LLC together. And we've gotten better at it over the years. But I think Tracy, my wife, and I, our approach has always been kind of from her journalism background. It's just always been subject matter expert. What we're trying to do is sort of like interview based copywriting at its core. So we've got a few different ways we can do it, but what we're trying to do is extrapolate your subject matter expertise when we, personally, aren't as integrated into your firm. How do we do that, in a way that requires very little of your time, but then also produces a high quality output in terms of copy that can be used on different marketing materials? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Faustin, do you want to kick us off with sort of some of the ways you think about doing this, so we ensure that our copy's at a high quality level, but we're also speaking, kind of from the client's voice?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say, first and foremost, Stephen, you and Tracy, we as a company hire good writers. I think that's a just stop right there,
Step
right?
one.
Like we hire,
Yeah.
yeah, we hire people that can write. Our strategists can write. Our project managers can write. Our copywriters can write. I think that's an important element, right? Because I think so many times when people or firms talk about brand voice, really what they're looking for is somebody that can write simply and persuasively. Really, the two key components of good copywriting in digital marketing is, can things be communicated in a simple manner so that it's easily understood, so that you're not including multiple thoughts or clauses in many sentences at once, so that it gets unreadable? Is it formatted with like a combination of longer sentences and shorter sentences? Does it get to the point clearly and concisely? And then from a persuasive aspect, if the writing calls for it, does it communicate it in a way that prompts the reader to be able to take the next step? I think that is like the number one thing that we do as a firm is we just have good writers that can write simply and persuasively. And I think that could take on the form of any of the firms that we work with. I'd also say too that, like, subject matter wise, obviously the sophistication in the financial services industry is unlike many others, right? I mean, it's very complicated, especially when you start getting up into some of the more complex topics that not even all advisors have a lot of experience with, like navigating the specific elements of stock compensation and how that impacts, your AMT liability at the end of the year, and how exercising at this point versus this point can better help you in that situation. We're getting into a lot of nuances that not even all advisors have a lot of expertise on. And so, to your point, we do rely a lot on the advisors to sort of help communicate the most important elements of that as it relates to your target audience. And so we are able to interview and extrapolate based on those interviews to talk about the topics. But I will say that as we've taken on more and more clients in the space, our entire collective knowledge as a team and expertise as a team in writing about these topics is something that has expanded and improved on and been bolstered tremendously. Each new topic, and just to give you an example, like the tax bill that just came out, right? The Big Beautiful Act signed by President Trump on July 4th. We're dating ourselves here a little bit because we're recording this on July 8th. But right away, we were able to consolidate all the different changes to that bill, and we're able to share that content, copywriting, how to write simply and concisely to communicate that, share it internally across our entire team. And then we're able to go directly to our clients and ask them talk with them, strategize with them about how to communicate that to the client. So simply, concisely, we have good writers that can write persuasively. And then I think there's a lot of shared knowledge that's been built. The brain power has been built for multiple years working with RAs, where we're able to cross share about how we've written about particular topics, relying on the subject matter experts to sort of be our guiding light into what's most relevant. But then the output has been improved tremendously since our expertise has been increased with it.
Nice, really good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think to just something real quick to add, the journalism background, you made me think of it with the way that we've hired people. So one of our first hires was Mary Coughlin. She has a journalism degree, just like Tracy. We've got Laura on our team. She's got a background in journalism as well, and so I think that kind of like runs. It's kind of like a theme among our people and like sort of where we come from. You know, this journalistic view of producing content. So I think just and then that feeds everything you just said. And then when we get into how do we actually do it, ideally we've got a concise amount of time where we can be efficient with the advisor and ask the advisor about whatever the topic is, right? So like, for example, how you want to, leverage tax planning for efficient investment management. Talk to me about that topic for 20 minutes. And most advisors can be comfortable with just us and Zoom talking and just going, and they've got a lot of materials and supporting documents and so on. But they can talk, we can record that, turn it into a transcript, we can clean up the transcript and then produce whatever we need out of it. If it's a blog article, a video script, an email newsletter, social media post, whatever that may be. So usually what happens is we try to be efficient with the advisor's time on whatever the said topic is, and then we can turn it into multiple pieces of content, and kind of build from there. So yeah, I think that gets into sort of the how, the
Yeah.
how we do it. I
I
don't know
would
if you want to
say
add to that.
Yeah, I would say too, like the how has been improved pretty dramatically since we've become more well versed as a firm using these LLMs like Claude or ChatGPT, because what we're able to do is create a project or I think that's terminology in both ChatGPT and Claude, where we're
Mhm.
able to put in all of your information right on your website, all your website pages, all of our workshop transcripts, all of our messaging guides that we work with you on to really try to refine what your tone and style would be. Like, do you want to be more humorous? Do you want to be more casual? Do you want to be more formal and sophisticated and elegant based on, the target audience that you're going after and what you're trying to, communicate with your firm? We're able to put all that, as well as a lot of like important content topics that you're really familiar with and you talk through, all in a project with our LOM. And then we have this directed to each client, and we're able to generate and proactively anticipate some of the challenges and items around each financial planning topic and put that in front of the advisor for the interview, right? Because the ChatGPT, Claude, they can get pretty far in terms of thinking through all the insights around. You use tax planning for investments throughout the year, stock options throughout the year. Like, they can give us a good runway, a good starting point. We can leverage our past expertise writing about these topics, eliminate what's not relevant, emphasize the parts that are relevant, revise for the company's brand voice. A lot of times with AI copywriting, it's not good, it's not compelling, it's not persuasive, it's too long, right? And so we can use the human element of being good writers, go through, get it to a really good spot where it mirrors that simplicity and persuasiveness that we're going for, and then put it proactively in front of the advisor in that interview. We're already like 85-90% of the way there. Then the advisor comes in, they're like presented this beautiful document where they can say, oh no, I want to emphasize those 2 points, I don't really want that, like the messaging is not great for that third, let's cut that out. Boom, now we have an efficient way of getting out whatever the message is, whatever the topic is, whatever the content is. So I will say
Yeah.
that the collective infrastructure of our company, as we've worked for 5 years with advisors, has improved, but also our commitment to becoming much more well developed in terms of the AI tools, not relying on them to do all the writing, but relying on them to proactively get us to the point where the advisor, we're saving them time and we're able to get something across the finish line faster.
Nice. Yeah, really good. A couple things you went through quickly, but I just want to double tap on them, if
Yeah.
you will, double click, double tap on them. So the messaging guide that we work on with advisors in the first couple months, we work on a messaging guide where we run you through different workshops, internal and external. By external, I mean we interview your clients with your permission, and so we feed that into a messaging guide that then establishes, yeah, your voice, your tone. We've got takeaways from your clients, some insights that we've gained, like word for word phrases that they've used. We've got your buyer persona research and so on in there. We've got what you've given us feedback on so far, like your existing content that you like or don't like. We've got a keyword phrase bank that we've got established that anybody can pull from, that are just simple phrases, that are kind of pre-approved by you. We've got differentiators that we've drawn out for your firm versus other firms in your space. We've got a lot of information on your buyer personas challenges and how you help them solve for those, and what makes you, really qualified to serve them. Obviously, your core services and your offerings and so on. That all goes into a messaging guide, right? That gets fed into a project, and the tool, then the ChatGPT or the Claude or whatever the tool is, then feeds off of that. So it's really important. Like, I think what we feed it, to kind of establish those things. One other thing that I'll point out would be, you hit on this too, but in the workshop, we'll ask you these sort of open-ended questions just to get you talking and get you, open with us. But, for example, we've got a brand worksheet that applies to both visual and written brand, where we ask, on a scale of 1 to 5, from traditional to progressive, where does your brand fall? Mark the X on 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and then include some notes. Corporate versus friendly, serious versus playful, understated versus loud, things like that. We've got about 20 different, and really it's a way for us to sort of get to know you, how you want to represent yourself, again, both visually and from a copy standpoint. And it's really hard for us, like, if you say, from, playful to formal, or what was the example I just gave? Actually, it's hold on, let me go back. It's what do we have? Playful. Oh, serious to playful on a scale of 1 to 5. Serious to playful. If you say I want to be a 2 on serious versus I want to be a 1 on serious, that's really hard. I mean, like, I don't know how copy is going to reflect that, but what it does is it gives us a good idea of where you fall kind of on that spectrum. And then we look at this and we talk it out with you. And what we're trying to do is really embed ourselves into your company, and try to represent your brand and everything that we're doing from a marketing standpoint. Those things like that, when you pile all those up, they can really help us do that effectively. So again, all with the end goal being concise and compelling in what we're delivering, because that's what registers and that's what resonates with your ideal audience.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it really comes down to, like, do we want to be more serious, or do you want to be a little bit humorous every now and then? Do you want to give saucy takes on stuff, or do you want to stay above the fold with more formal type language? And do you want to be casual at all based on your clientele? I mean, we have all those different characteristics that we have, our clients assess themselves on, but really it comes down to those few things, right? Like, how do you want to present the topics in a very casual, simple, persuasive way, or a more formal, simple, persuasive way? Do we want to throw in the occasional joke every now and then? Do we want to take edgy type slants? And I think if we can get that from our clients, we have the skills to be able to talk, not as financial planning experts, but definitely financial planning copywriting experts on almost any of the topics.
Right.
I will say there are some exceptions. We're helping a couple of advisors on like a B2B level right now, like try to recruit other advisors around investment, like technical investment language, right? In terms of, like, the models on Morningstar and the particular characteristics of asset allocation as it relates to some very specifics. And I do think that requires a little bit more insight, more diligence. But for the majority of our clients that are going after retail investors, the level of sophistication around the topics I think can be cross shared a lot of times between us internally, so that we can get to where we want to be in terms of communicating clearly in the brand voice of the firm.
Nice. Really good. That's all I have. Anything else to add?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
I have
All
no
right. When we wrap
punchy
up.
jokes or anything here to try to extend this episode, but yeah, I think we're gonna have to do maybe we've just been simple and persuasive, right? For our
Yeah,
podcast.
I guess so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess so. Time will tell. Yeah.
yeah,
No jokes to make fun of ourselves today. We're just gonna skip over that, I guess. Yeah.
yeah. I think that's it.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, thanks for listening, everybody.
All right,
We'll be
thank you.
back with more soon. All righty.
Bye.